On your screen, you have effectively 13 principles of effective training. And what I would like to do is actually go through each of these pieces and discuss them so that you get a good sense. And so if you have a pen and paper, there's quite a bit of text in this video. But what I would like to do is go through it with you and talk you through the key and important pieces of information. The first thing to note, and I'm going to focus on the first three and take out the most important ones for you. And if you would like, I actually have this as an attachment to this particular video. Let's take a look. The first thing is to make sure that you introduce your session with a brief overview of this training subject's main points. And so for me, the most important thing to take away from this is that there is a focus on the priorities of the lesson, and those priorities are explicit and repeated throughout the lesson. So if you have a pen, that is essentially what you need to take away. That effective training has very, very clear priorities, and those priorities are not only repeated often, but also taught around. And people are very clear about what those priorities are. Okay. Another key piece of information is to explain key points and demonstrate procedures. Okay, so to make sure that people know if they have questions to raise their hand, for example, if they would like to go to use the restroom, there's a procedure for that. Okay, and then as I've said, you have these key priorities and you actually repeat them and you make them very, very clear. So you've told them what you told them, you conclude with a summary of your opening overview, and you use repetition for trainees to grasp and retain information. Okay, so those are three key things. I'm now going to take you to what I thought were the next three key things, and they just happen to be underneath one another. The next piece is to test frequently. Tests are the most effective ways we are able to assess not only learning, but also our teaching, right? And we do tests through feedback, we do tests through surveys and assessments, okay? Secondly, involve your trainers and involve your participants, right? There's nothing worse than death by PowerPoint. Finding ways for people to be active participants in learning is the most effective way of learning, all right? And then thirdly, reflect on the learning, reflect on the process, reflect on action, in action, and for action. Let me repeat that. Reflect on action. What that means is you're going to reflect on what you're doing in the moment, okay? Reflect in action is to take the situation as it's occurring and think about the best ways to put forward your point. And then finally, reflect for action. Take what you have learned as a result of your reflections and shift your practice. Okay, now let us go to the next key group, which I think is important, and I'm going to focus on these 4 blocks right here, and then I'm going to zoom out so that you can see all of them at once. A key thing is, before introducing something, to make sure that people understand what to expect and what to anticipate, right? And that's key for people to understand the purpose of multimedia, all right? When multimedia is available, try your best not to use it as often as you would like, because the most effective trainings are those that are actually hands-on. Make sure that you repeat questions before answering them. Value your wait time, okay? And make sure not only do you value your wait time, but also make sure that you stay on time, and make sure that you have a very structured way so people know that they're going to start on time and they're going to edit on time. All right, so let's go out and for you to take a full look at the 11 principles of an effective training program. Let me break them down, and if you have a pen and paper, this is the time to take it out. Number 1, be clear about your priorities and repeat those priorities often. Number 2, ensure that you assess your learning, right? Very, very critical. 3, involve trainees as much as you can. Hands-on learning is critical. 4, reflect. Make sure that you reflect in action, on action, and for action. And then finally, keep your session on track. Make sure that you have structure to your time, and make sure that people feel that their time is being valued. And then finally, solicit feedback on the training. Get assessment. Make sure that you use that assessment to not only report back on learning, but also ensure that it influences. These are the most important principles of an effective training program.